86 years of age. Give me some, passed away there in the middle of the week. Give me some thoughts on him all those days at CBS. Let me hear.
Another great guy to be around. Of course, I covered him as the play-by-play and then the host of the NBA. And then he was my analyst for a time before he moved with Dick Stockton, and I became the host of the package. And what's great about Tommy, God bless him, but he bled Celtic green. So in some of those great games through the years between the Lakers and the Celtics, I mean, just the appearance of Tommy Heinsohn walking onto the floor at the Forum would just infuriate Laker fans because they knew how much he bled Celtic green. He was a kind of a tough-talking guy. I remember him also as a player. He was a very good, tough wing forward for Red Auerbach. And Red, of course, stayed very loyal with his guys. And Red once told me that, I said, Red, why'd you make Bill Russell the coach? Why'd you step away? And suddenly Russell was a playing coach there. He said, because he would have retired if I hadn't made him the coach. I wanted to keep him for a player. And Heinsohn was the same kind of, I mean, it was a fabulous group of characters with the Boston Celtics. And many a night on the road, Tommy and I would close out the night with a Cavassier, and he'd tell me hilarious stories about playing with the great Celtic teams through the years. There was great love, I'm sure, in the community of Boston, and deservedly so for Tommy.
And you called Game 5 when he coached Celtics and Suns. You, Mendy Rudolph, and Rick Barry, you were the voice of that final, and Tommy won his second championship. Was he good to deal with from the media standpoint, Brent, or no?
Yeah, you know, it's hard. It's hard for a TV guy to evaluate because our relationship, and I can talk about this because I was with guys as a newspaper man, and then later as a TV reporter. They were always more willing to be open with television announcers, and I dare say it's probably still the case today. You know, there's a little bit of an adversarial relationship, and understandably so. I'm not putting down writers for this because I had to do it sometimes myself. When a team is going bad in a city, you've got to be a little more critical of them. And the writer that I really respected as much as any in the country was a legendary writer at the old New York Daily News by the name of Dick Young. And anybody listening to us who was older and been around New York understands Dick Young. He was a legendary baseball writer and a baseball columnist. And I asked him once, I said, Dick, when you criticize people, help me out. I was a youngster, and so I talked to him one night over a couple of beers someplace. He said, the only thing that I always follow is that if you rip somebody, and the word rip probably was started by Dick Young, that's when you criticize an athlete, and these days a politician. Whenever you rip somebody, make sure you show up the next day at batting practice so they see that you're there, and if they've got a beef, they can come up to you. I never forgot that. In other words, the hit and run guys, the Twitter guys who go up and criticize people and you're never around these guys to let them speak their mind. It's kind of gutless as far as I'm concerned. And people will hide behind anonymous names and things of that sort. But the great Dick Young, he taught me, you criticize somebody, you show up the next day. And I never forgot that lesson, Mad Dog.
Yeah, I agree. And Young too. Last thing before the picks, how many Masters did you cover, Brent? I mean, did you cover 2 or 3 of them? How many times did you get to Augusta?
I don't know, half dozen times, I think.
Oh, that many?
Back in the 80s. The most memorable,
I'm not sure how...
most memorable, of course, was the win by Jack Nicklaus, his last win. I mean, that's...
so you were there. You covered that. Now, you are so known and synonymous with the football and the basketball, we almost forget that you also covered Augusta, What's your best? I mean, did you love it? Did you think it was a little too stuffy? Did you get a? Did Magnolia Lane mean something to you from a kid from Montana? Give me a little rundown about you covering Augusta for those 6 years.
Well, I did not grow up as a golfer. Picked it up a little bit later. Never became very proficient at it. But I always loved the time that I spent at Augusta. It was special to be there, the setting that everybody knows, and I'll never forget that on the Saturday before Jack Nicklaus won on Sunday, I put Barbara Nicklaus up on the air live, and I doubt that any woman had ever appeared on a television broadcast of the Masters at the time, and believe me, it was not universally applauded by the people in the golf community at the time. I was in the basement of the Butler cabin, so that and the reason why they bring me in initially is that prior to that, the head of Augusta of the club at the time would do the interview with the champion when he put on the green coat. And to tell you the truth, there was one of the heads. It was somewhat embarrassing because he really did not know what to ask down there. That is why they brought me in to host it down there, was because of that. And so I was always in the basement of the Butler cabin, and it's interesting to me, and because Jim Nance I introduced as an announcer at CBS as one of the young announcers. It's interesting to me that at the end of the Masters now, he goes down into that basement to be part of the green jacket ceremony. And of course, that's what I had done when I was there in the '80s. And Jimmy's right, because he becomes part of the Masters, and he's been the broadcaster for longer than anybody down there. But it's a special place. Was it stuffy? Not really. I thought they were nice. We could always play it on Monday after we covered it. So I played the golf course several times with other media people, I might add. That's when they opened it up on the Monday following on the Sunday. But we had great champions, and it's a great event. It's a little bit difficult for me to turn on the TV here the last couple of days and see the fall foliage and not the spring bloom that I'm so familiar with. And of course, no crowd at all on the golf course. You know, it's empty except for the players and caddies and those who are covering it. So it's a difficult view, but it's a great place, and it means so much for the people who win it. But that was very special for me to be around Jack Nicklaus's last major